Here we go at Wembley. It's the England debrief after a 5-0 win. Promotion, Lee Carsley's last game in charge. I'm joined not only by the regulars on the England debrief, Stuart Pearce, former England captain, and our England commentator at the end there, Jim Proudfoot, but also by our Ireland man, the former Irish captain, Andy Townsend, as well. Andy, do you want to talk about Ireland or not? No?
Well,
we don't have to.
All right. Well, look, it's a long old night. It was. They got overwhelmed in the end. First half, they did great. Organised, looked like they knew what they were doing against a very powerful England team. Let's make no mistake about it. But then, once that incredible Harry Kane pass found Jude Bellingham, and they got that, scored the penalty, and obviously the yellow and then red for Liam Scales, then just completely spins it. And it was a very long and tough second half for them. But clinical performance from England.
Yes, second half especially. The first half, less said the better. But let's talk about that moment of magic that absolutely transformed the game, Stuart Pearce. And you were right in line with it. The Harry Kane pass onto the path of Jude Bellingham that led to the penalty. Absolutely brilliant, wasn't it?
Well, it's rare that you see one pass change a game and have such an impact in one game. But it induced the sending off, it got Harry the opportunity to score a goal. The run from Bellingham was outstanding, the pass itself was outstanding, and it was just a piece of talent that you have to admire and stand up and applaud.
And our commentary position right behind it, as I say. So Jim Proudfoot, what was that like to commentate on? Because you must have seen that opening up as soon as he's hit the ball, Kane.
Oh, it's fantastic, because I didn't see the pass. When you're looking at it, you don't see... I saw Bellingham making his way forward, but it never occurred to me that Harry Kane would have not only seen the pass, but been able to play it with such precision. And it was just, wow. I mean, it's the proper jaw-dropping moment. It was just a magnificent pass. And obviously, Scales hasn't made the challenge. It could have been different and we'd have just been sort of referring to it in passing, but it literally was the moment that changed the game.
Also, just quickly, that sort of pass needs a run, and it was like a sprint from Jude Bellingham. He knows Harry Kane can do that. He's absolutely sprinted 20 yards into the box when maybe some of the Ireland boys were just jogging and coasting a bit. He's gone, and Kane's found him brilliantly. Great ball.
Yeah, it was. And there were questions about Harry Kane, Stuart Pearce. Left out on Thursday. Been questions about England captaincy with Tuchel coming in. And I thought second half he stepped up. And if there are doubters, there should be none now with the quality that he had to change the game there.
Well, the one thing you're going to say about Harry Kane is his attitude this week has been absolutely first class. He is the England captain. He was left out in Greece, whether you call it left out, dropped, rotated. We've got various words for it. The bottom line, he didn't play, and he would have been absolutely crestfallen about that. But he responded in the right way, the way a captain does. He kept his mouth shut, and he delivered a performance, got his goal, delivered a pass that changed the game, and he's almost sent a message out and said, if you want to put me out of the team, you're in for a fight. And fair play to him. And
if Harry's going to play, I think England will be most successful if they have midfield runners going in behind him. That's something we talked about many times. But we saw that with Jude Bellingham, and it gives him the licence to come out into wider positions, because if he drifts out to the left as he did there, you've got Gordon can make a run inside, you've got Bellingham can make a run through the middle. That's what England are going to need for that to be successful. We also saw, to an extent, particularly in the first half, Livramento was making some great runs forward from right back and was finding himself in a position between Harry and Noni Madueke on the right wing, and so he was almost playing it inside right. That's the kind of movement that England need to get the most out of Harry Kane the way that he plays now.
We've got some good width. We saw that in Athens, Stuart, and we've seen it this evening here at Wembley as well, not just from wingers but from fullbacks as well. And this is going to be important for Thomas Tuchel to get right going forward, because we've got those floaty number 10s. Bellingham has done that the last two games, and I think he's been excellent in both games. But you've also got Phil Foden, you've got Cole Palmer, you've got other players who might fancy their chances. Morgan Gibbs-White has featured in this. Morgan Rogers as well can play in that position. You've got those number 10s, but there's only one of those, the way England are playing right now. This is a dilemma and a difficult decision for Thomas Tuchel to make, but he's got to get it right if he's to complete the job that we're asking him to do, which is win a tournament.
Yeah, I think there's a message being sent out here that if we're going to play the formation that we have done, your two wide players have to be offensive winger type players. You know, there's no doubt in my mind about that. And if they are, that frees up the likes of Kane to drop deep and not get criticism for it. That frees up Bellingham to go beyond Kane, as we saw tonight. And also as well, the question mark is a natural left-footed left-back is so important for us.
Absolutely right. Big questions for Thomas Tuchel, but having seen that second half, he will have watched it, of course, and the performance in Athens. So much for him to be positive about, particularly the youngsters coming through and the attacking threats that England have got. Difficult job for him to do. Bearing in mind he's being asked to win a World Cup, it couldn't be more difficult.
No,
has he got the players to do it? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy at all for Tuchel to automatically go out to America and be expected to win it. I think it's going to be really tough for England. Conditions aren't always favourable for in that respect. But look, he'll welcome the fact that he's got some top players to pick from, to select from, and he's got to get it right. He's got to make those big calls. There'll be some he's got to make along the way, and he's got to get more of them right. That's what determines, I think, whether a manager is a success or not.
And I think Jim Proudfoot, those youngsters that Lee Carsley has brought in have shown up well, particularly in these two games.
Yeah, I think Madueke's been phenomenal. I think he would be the standout over the Nations League campaign. He's got his starts over the last week because Bukayo Saka has been injured. Only it may well have been in Carsley's mind to have started him in one of the games anyway. But he was excellent in cameos in the previous three, and he's really grasped the opportunity in these two games to play as a direct high-octane winger down that right-hand side. And what an option to be able to have. So he would be the standout, I think, but the fact that England have made, well, given what sort of 8-9 different players' debuts over the course of this Nations League campaign, and I think nearly all of them have shown up really well, and that's a massive sign of promise for the future.
Do you know, I think there's always a popular pick amongst the media, amongst supporters. Cole Palmer has become the popular pick really because of the way that he's played for Chelsea and how influential he's been for them. So there's always coaches at Pearce, they've got to see beyond that sometimes, haven't they? They got to see something else from other players that, no, I'm not going to go for that popular pick. And I'm not suggesting it ain't going to be Cole Palmer, I'm just making him as an example. This is what you're hiring someone like Tuchel for, to make those selections and get more of them right than he gets wrong. Because again, so many times, particularly with the England team, you see the press dominating a certain player. You see coaches sometimes going after that certain player, selecting that formation. They've got a guy now that's got to see around that, above that and beyond that, and which is going to be a fascinating watch.
I think we had that in the summer, Andy, with there was a clamour for Bellingham and Foden because they've been so good for their clubs.
Yeah.
And I almost I did subscribe to it. You turn around and say, they've got to play. They've got to start. You've got to find a place to get them two in the team.
And then when you saw them here, it didn't happen, did it?
No, indeed it didn't.
The brain's been whirring. You might have been able to hear the cogs, but
I thought it was a lawnmower.
I'm just thinking about Noni Madueke, and it's another difficult decision. Bukayo Saka plays on that right-hand side as well. He has been arguably England's most consistent performer, a very popular player, delivers good numbers, delivers performances, and yet we've seen Madueke almost put in two performances that make him undroppable. Stuart Pearce, that's a massive call. So if you're picking an England team tomorrow and both are available, what do you do?
Well, you might turn around and say, can Saka play on the left-hand side potentially? It's a brilliant situation to have. You know full well, every time you go to a major tournament, you bet your bottom dollar you're going to lose 3-4 players that are going to be essential to you that you want to pick in the squad. That happens. I've seen it in my time and I've seen it going forward. You always lose a couple of players. The more, the merrier. That's the bottom line. And then you don't have to rely on form all the time. You turn around and say, well, if someone loses a bit of form, I've got another one to come in. And how many times have we spoken about the importance of the substitutes bench to come on and have impact? This just offers more options.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, you want to have any great degree of success, you need to be able to have a team that you can think, well, I've got a goalkeeper and then I've got a second choice that's really not far behind, and replicate that in every area of the pitch. And I think that England probably are in a position over the next 2-3 years that they might be able to do that in a more effective way than ever before. The game is developing, so you're going to have more and more substitutes as time goes on. We'll soon probably be in a position that you can have 8 over the course of 90 minutes, because that's going to be the way that you would imagine FIFA and UEFA will try and get around the workload issue for players, is just encourage more substitutions so that the workload for individual players goes down. That will play into England's hands if that happens.
These two have sat on the fence. I mean, the fence is creaking, but these two have sat on the fence without question. Saka.
I won't sit on the fence.
All right.
If it was tomorrow, it's Madueke. That's the answer to your question for me. If
Saka's done it,
the game is
Saka
tomorrow,
would get my nod at the moment, because I think he's done it in the tournaments. We haven't seen Madueke yet, really, in the tournament. So I would give that to Bukayo Saka. But past, previous, does that really matter? What matters now is what you're doing in the moment right now. Madueke this season is a rejuvenated boy and is looking very dangerous.
I think throw the question out to this side of the pitch. Tomorrow, what does that look like? Do you want a Grealish or a Foden that have operated in that area of the pitch that won't offer you that little bit of dazzle as a wide player, or do you want someone, Gordon, or someone of the like? You know, there's a question for you as well.
and the other factor to consider would be, going back to the substitution point, which way around do you want it? It might make more sense to have Saka there and then have the more explosive pace of Madueke as a substitute against tiring defenders. But what a nice position to be in, rather than thinking, well, okay, you can name 6 starters for England, but we're really muddling through the rest of the team. That's not the situation.
And just want to mention as well, the Hartwell-Bellis goal, I think, is extraordinary. I mean, he wasn't meant to be in the squad. He comes on as a sub. He's fighting relegation with Southampton, Stuart. And on his debut, he's come on, and moments later, he's headed a goal. He scored on his debut for England. He must feel so fantastic.
To step out for England, it's something will never leave you or your country. To actually score and be a defender and score as well, it's a special day for him. There's no doubt about that. And I think any player that gets the opportunity to step out internationally, it's special. But for him, not being in the squad, all of a sudden, 2 games into it, there he is on the pitch scoring a goal. Wonderful for him and his family, by the way.
Hey, you'd have knocked that one in. Come on.
I really wouldn't.
Hey, no, it was a great header. Great header. I tell you what, it's a brilliant ball, but he's hung majestically there and he empowered it down. Give the goalie absolutely no chance. Brilliant goal.
I've got to say, Andy, I've seen him get his ginger pate on a few things, and I think he'd have missed. Honestly, he'd have thrown the syrup in the air.
There'd have been somebody having a pie in the crowd, and I'd have been staring at that thing, and I just fancy that I'd have missed it completely. Andy, really enjoyed it. Stu, Jim, thank you very much. England promoted under Lee Carsley. Thomas Tuchel comes in next, and we're going to go and win the World Cup, aren't we? We'll see you next time on the England Debrief next year.